Not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And I remember one time when I was just a wee lad, reading one of those books in class, in reading class. I think I was like in elementary school. It was some book that was probably published in the 50s or the late 40s, maybe during the World War II era. And there was just something a guy said, a character in the book said something. He said, "There's a nigger in the haystack." You know, and the book wasn't about, you know what I'm saying, black people. You know, and I just find that odd. And then my teacher, and I think that I was one out of the very few blacks in my class, and my teacher came and consulted us and said, "Oh, well, this book was written in a different era," you know, and she does, you know, just to tell us, you know, but, yeah, that kind of, you know, struck me as odd. But I understand that, you know, back in the days, the good old days, I guess, that was a form of expression. It means something's fishy going on. The situation don't look right. You know, something has gone awry. You know, there's a nigger in the haystack. Sometimes they'll switch it up and be like, "There's a nigger in the woodpile." But yeah, I feel like there's something fishy going on. Let me show you this. Now you see this is a black man, I mean a white dude in blackface, mocking, you know, poking fun at black people, you know, at our features and so forth. You know, and he went all out. They go all out, you know what I'm saying? They pull out the shoe polish, you know, sometimes the red lipstick. You know, see, when white dudes are, you know, poking fun at black people's skin complexion, you know what I'm saying, they're not gonna like put peanut butter on their face and, you know, make fun of dudes, you know, my complexion or whatever, or even put, you know, like brown paint on their face or just a chocolate color on their face, like, you know, they're just gonna just go all the way out with it, you know what I'm saying? They're just gonna get the black shoe polish, you know, you know, and so the point I'm trying to get at, you know, it's bad enough that whites, you know, take jabs at black people, you know, and so forth, you know, talk about black, like being dark skinned is a defect. But it's, you know what I'm saying, it's real serious when black dudes that are you know what I mean, are picking up the torch, you know what I'm saying, and carrying on this tradition. You know, and I'm not going to say that I'm oblivious to it, or I've never done it, so to say. I remember when I was a kid, back when I read that passage from that book, "There's a nigger in the haystack." You know, I had a friend, and so when I was a kid, when I used to play kickball, I had a friend. Name was Sean. He was real dark skinned, real dark, and I remember I used to poke fun at him, and not to hurt his feelings, because he was one of my best friends. You know, we stayed the night over each other's house. You know, no homo. But you know, I remember people make jokes like when he took school pictures, all we seen was his eyes and his teeth. But you know, he was a fast runner. You know, he was fast as hell. You know, even when we played baseball, he'll hit a pop fly and he'll be already on third base before someone catch the ball. But I'm like, he was yeah, you know what I'm saying, he was something else with his legs on the track. But yeah, it's I don't know, you know, as a kid how he felt about it, but as I've gotten older and I've gotten this knowledge, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, I make sure that I've never do that again. Now, there's times when I admit I've drawn cartoons of dark-skinned black dudes and exaggerated their blackness. But, you know what I'm saying? But when I draw cartoons, even if I draw a cartoon of myself, I'm going to exaggerate my own looks. I'm going to draw my own self kind of being ugly and so forth. But you never heard me say stuff like burnt biscuit, burnt charcoal, and and things of that matter. Especially in front of white people. Because it may be confusing to white people because we already tell them, they can't say the word nigger. We get mad, can they say the word nigger? And then we're calling other black dudes, black people burnt or whatever, or crispy, so is it okay for whites to say that? So they can't do that neither. You see what I'm saying? I think about when Khalid Muhammad was a very dark-skinned fellow, and he was on a Phil Donahue show, and I know how flustered Phil had to be about the things that he was saying, but Khalid Muhammad was only speaking the truth. And I wonder if Phil Donahue would have lashed out at him and said, hey, you burnt black biscuit, charcoal, you know what I mean, mother effer. Yeah, Phil Donahue would have got a lot of flack for it. But what if you would say, hey, I didn't call him the N-word? I'm like, okay, I understand black people call each other the N-word as a term of endearment. But is calling somebody crispy, black, burnt, is that a term of endearment? I don't see adult men just saying, hey, what up, my crispy black bro. So sometimes they may joke around with it, but it's not likely, and so forth. So it's funny that, people here on the internet, is just, throwing these insults around as if, white people aren't listening or watching. Now I know what you're going to say. You're going to say maybe if a certain person is a bootlicker, and if he's siding with white people on white people's side and so forth, and he's real black, he's blackity black, you may say, well, it's justified. It's to let this guy know, hey, look at what skin complexion you are. You're the blackest person out here, and still you're you're shuffling your feet. But that is inconclusive when we know that in the world out here that people really throw these jabs at people. Hence, like for instance, if I feel that these same perpetrators of this offense, if someone who's dark skinned may cut them off in traffic, or they get into an argument with them in a line at Church's Chicken or whatever, that they may throw out those black slurs like, you crispy black motherfucker, you saw my blinker and so forth. So we look at some Wesley Snipes, and I remember him in the movie Jungle Fever, his character Flipper, when he was talking about all the he heard every black joke in a book by his own people. Even though he was portraying a character, a fictional character, I can tell him growing up, he had to have heard those jokes. So there's really no excuse for it, because we know black people do it on the regular. It doesn't matter if a black person is bootlicking or kissing up to the white person, or if this black person is just is a straight up thug or whatever. I'm like, we and this goes back into my is black ugly, we superimpose these stereotypes with black people, we look, as the white man, we look at it as a defect. And I look at all these guys that are going around doing this because they have no good debating skills, or they have a small mental capacity. And I say that when you see these figurines, these dolls, these drawings of Sambos, these white men are people masquerading in a black face, do you get offended by it? You should get offended by it. You should be like, hey, those guys are making fun of the real dark-skinned black dudes. See my skin complexion? My skin complexion is more sandy. It's more paper bag brown. It's more of a, it's more of a light chocolate and so forth. It's more of a, like the cream inside of a Three Musketeers brown. I'm not dark-skinned like those dudes. So I'm not offended with those black dudes. Hence, if you're offended by, the white man painting black people as a solid jet black, and you find that offensive, and then you turn around and use these same smears and sneers at someone, you know, who is, you know what I'm saying, very dark. You know what I'm saying? You are a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? There's no way of getting past that. Hence, you know what I'm saying, we all know the negative connotations that come with dark skin. Now, on a scientific level, on a biological level, even on a molecular level, we can say that dark skin has its advantages. It only has advantages when you're dealing with nature. You know what I'm saying? You can absorb sunlight better. I don't want to get into the schematics of the power of melanin. I'll be here for 3 hours. This video will be 3 hours long. There's plenty of people on YouTube that already got that whole melanin science, you know what I'm saying, packed down. You know, the very good dissertations there. But, you know what I'm saying, even still, like when a dark-skinned person gets a scar or a scab or even a bullet wound, so when it heals up, you know, it's like you won't see it, you know what I'm saying, or you have a hard time seeing it because they're dark-skinned and so forth. As if, you know, when a light-skinned person, you know, has bad skin or whatever, or have to, you know what I mean, pop a pimple, you know what I'm saying, real bad blemishes or a scrape or a scar, yeah, you see it, you know what I'm saying, it sticks out. You know what I'm saying? It sticks out 8 miles away and so forth. And, you know, even, and also, dark-skinned people also known for having, good teeth. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's just a dark skin with the contrast of their white teeth, and their white teeth shows. Hence, that's why there was a, you know what I'm saying, a toothpaste called Darkies. Because even white people, you know what I'm saying, especially, you know, white people used to have real rickety and raggedy and real bad teeth back in the days. And seeing black people, and as of what Dr. Africa said, when blacks got off the slave boat, 99% of them didn't have cavities, even talking about dudes that would be classified as the elderly. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You had Darkies toothpaste. You know what I'm saying? Even white people had to give us props and be like, hey, yeah, you guys got some shiny teeth. And, you know what I'm saying? Another thing, black people, you know what I'm saying, dark-skinned people, you know, age better. And than people, and you know, than white people, you know what I'm saying? People with less melanin density, and so to say. And it's funny that a lot of these guys that are just, you know what I'm saying, who throw up, you know, this slander, you know what I'm saying, this meaningless banter, you know what I'm saying, about dark skin. They're not exactly, you know what I'm saying, they're not light skinned or even medium complexion and so forth. I'm like, look at me, you know what I'm saying, I can easily rag on somebody that, you know what I'm saying, you call someone burnt, and I can look at that same person and be like, hey man, you look burnt black, you know what I mean, compared to me and so forth. Because really, you know, and I have to, you know, say it's true and quote another YouTuber that, yeah, sometimes dark-skinned people want to compare themselves and you know, and just like, who's black, or like, I'm not black like that person, but to a person that's maybe light-skinned or sort of light-skinned or peanut butter complected, they may look at you and be like, well, yeah, you guys kind of look the same complexion. Now, I understand what people are getting into. Like, there's a certain blackness that is even a rarity among black people. You know what I'm saying? I understand that, you know, and so forth. But still, you know, us as grown adults, you know what I'm saying, we should conduct ourselves in a more civilized manner, especially if you want to talk about black people and the black community and so forth. And like, you have to understand that black people come in all, you know what I'm saying, shades and so forth, shades of brown, you know, and the thing is, you know, when you really observe black people's skin complexion, you know, it's not one stroke of black, you know, they're just a little bit of black, you know, mixed in with a little bit of brown and golden brown and Sierra brown, all mixed up and so forth, you know, if you really paid attention. But, you know, I understand that, you know, some of these guys, they feel like, well, if somebody's bootlicking the white man and so forth, it's fair games. But, you know what I'm saying, I still think that they're being contradictory and so forth. Now we know that white people don't rag on somebody for being too white. Every now and then you may say, so like there was a female in my high school, and I remember people saying that she was too pale, that she needed to get out the dungeon and stop worshiping devils. I'm like, still, you know what I mean? That's probably the closest you're going to get. And I remember when I went to school in the 90s, you know, a lot of people made blonde jokes. You know what I'm saying? I used to have a science teacher, and he used to, there was a blonde female in the class, and he used to say stupid stuff like, why did the blonde girl dig 3 holes? Because the first 2 ain't deep enough. But the blonde people will have the last laugh because so many people dye their hair to be blonde, you know, and so forth. But nobody makes blonde jokes anymore. I'm like, that was dead back in 1993 and so forth. And sometimes people may crack on somebody for being high yellow, like, you high yellow motherfucker and so forth. You know what I'm saying? That yellow motherfucker. That's still, you know what I'm saying, it still has no impact. Because let's face it, the average person doesn't want to be darker than he is. The average black person. If he woke up, you know what I'm saying, darker, if his skin complexion was just somehow magically turned darker overnight, they'll wake up and scream. You know, I'm like, that's being honest. That's being real. You know what I'm saying? Let's not kid ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like the average person, black person, wouldn't mind waking up one day and he find that his skin complexion is maybe a tad shade lighter, you know, than what he remembered it is. The thing is, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to darkness and when it comes to black, we don't want to be, a lot of people don't want to be associated with some sort of curse, this superstition, these medieval thoughts that we need to expurge from our brains. Because it hasn't, as a society in general, hasn't gone nowhere. And this doesn't pertain to black people, it pertains to the people all around the globe. We know that dark-skinned people a lot are shitted on. You know, especially in India, you know what I'm saying, and even in some of the Arab countries and so forth. And that we know that in a lot of these countries, they got their own version of Hollywood. They got their own little B, you know what I'm saying, B, or even I would say Z movies. You know what I'm saying, their own magazines. And they always put the light-skinned ones of their people on the cover. You know what I'm saying? In India, what do you call it? Bollywood. You know what I'm saying? They'll use the light-skinned actors and so forth. In India, there's a big thing with light-skinned cream. You know what I'm saying? This is the insanity, not just black people, of the human race. When we know, as I've stated, you know what I'm saying, on a biological level, there is no drawbacks to having dark skin whatsoever, unless you're talking about, well, dark-skinned people can't survive in a coat. I'm like, that's inconclusive or so forth. Or maybe they said, well, black people get, you know what I'm saying, sickle cell or whatever, because being in a coat. I'm like, who really wants to be in a coat anyway? You know what I'm saying, in cold environments. You know what I'm saying? Most old people move down south, but still, you know, we know this, but still, it's just that, I don't know, maybe people just don't like looking at it, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's unpleasant to look at, or maybe when you look at dark-skinned people and you want to make them synonymous with squalor, because when you look at these third world countries, whether they're in Africa or they're India or in South America somewhere, see kind of dark-skinned people living in complete filth, living in the Stone Age or whatever, and so forth. And light-skinned people seem more angelic, more hitherto, more futuristic, more enlightened, and so forth. And we all know that's a crock of bull. We all know some of the most dastardly and most heinous warlords of history, you know what I'm saying, were not dark-skinned people, you know, and so forth. And then the whole assertion of associating black with not just poverty, but with almost negative connotations of death and even demons. I talked about it in my Christmas video. The black demon named Black Pete or Nitzwitz or some other name that used to walk around with Santa Claus. And I think about, you know what I'm saying, how this carryover and the animal kingdom, you know what I'm saying, in movies and myths. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous superstition. Like, I think about the crow and the raven. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we associate the crows and the ravens with death, with something mysterious. You know, almost like they're supernatural, witchcraft. And we associated white birds like the doves you know, with something that's angelic and so forth. And you know, and the thing is, buzzards. I'm like, crows are more associated with death than buzzards and vultures. You know, it's just crows. Like when I saw that movie, Jeepers Creepers. Remember that at the end of the movie, that little abandoned warehouse or factory that monster dragged that boy in, and all them crows were all just hanging about outside of it because, you know, something bad was happening. Crows are associated with something terrible because they're black. You know, just like Jim Crow, you know, from the Dumbo cartoons, you know what I'm saying? Black people, black crow, Jim Crow, and so forth. But crows are actually one of the most intelligent birds there is. You know, people don't know about it. I just did my research on crows, you know what I'm saying? Hate to sound like a wiki warrior, but you know, they've known to even build little tools of their own, you know what I'm saying? With their beaks and claws, put sticks and little twigs together to create tools. But you know, you wouldn't know anything about that. And actually, the worst kind of birds there are, besides the pigeon, because the people associate the pigeon with the rat, are seagulls. Anybody who ever dealt with seagulls, or know anything about seagulls, or ever lived in a city or been in a place with a high population of seagulls, know it. I'm like, seagulls are like the thugs of the of the whole entire bird kingdom. I'm like, they are no joke. I'm like, you cannot have an outdoor picnic or a barbecue when you're living in an area where it has a cluster of seagulls. They will literally swoop down and eat your food in front of your face. They're not afraid of you. They will fight you over food. They are like big pests. I know when I used to live in Watertown, New York, seagulls was such a big problem. We had to put our trash, make sure our trash was inside the trash bin or whatever, and so forth. If you leave it open, the seagulls will get it. We cannot have any picnics or whatever, you know, any barbecues where we lived at, you know, because of the seagulls. Because the seagulls will swoop down like Alfred Hitchcock the birds. That's how they are. If you're dealing with a high population, someone with a high population, they're very aggressive birds. They're very nasty birds or whatever. Like they got, and they're white. They're particularly white and kind of gray bears. I know that it sounds silly and so forth. So you're like, oh, who cares? A crow's black, a seagull's white. But still, I'm just talking about, you know what I'm saying, our superstition with color and so forth. And it even makes me go into that movie, what was it? Well, I'm saying The Never Ending Story. You know, a trail, the main character used to fly on that white flying dog. Half dog, half dragon type creature. What's it called? Falcor. And it was good. It was smart. It was kind. And who was the arch nemesis in that movie? Other than the Nothing, there was the Nothing, but then there was the Nothing's helper. Yeah, it was like a big black scary wolf. The big black scary wolf was like the main antagonist of that film. Other than he was an agent for the Nothing, and the Nothing was really just children losing their imagination. You know what I'm saying? It was just a dark void and so forth. So you see that? I'm like, we know that it's real big in European folklore and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Black associated with the shadow, associated with a curse, and there's virtually, you know, having dark skin it's only a positive. Now, you know what I'm saying, you know, as I said, going on a biological scale. Now, some people may say, well, dark skinned people, you know, they can get ashy. But as my mom would say, you know what I'm saying, ash don't leave a rash. But I go into the early hominids. You know what I'm saying, the early, you know what I'm saying, the first human beings. You know what I'm saying, because there were like three types of us. And you know what I'm saying, before Homo sapiens, the modern man arose. And I wonder if these early human beings, did they trip over skin color, even though they had primitive minds and primitive brains and so forth, and you know what I'm saying, didn't know how to manage fire or whatever. I wonder if they tripped off skin color on darkness, or would poke fun at, you know what I'm saying, a fellow clan member or tribesman for being, you know what I'm saying, very dark. You know, I'm like, I just ponder that thought, and just looking how bad dark-skinned people have, you know what I'm saying, throughout the world, and how so many people in all other countries want to be light and white when there's just no benefits for having fair skin or white skin other than social benefits. You know what I mean? But as far as biology, I'm like, you're more liable to catch skin cancer, melanoma. You know what I'm saying? You age worse. So, you know what I'm saying? This video's been running long enough. All I can say is just cut it out. And thanks for watching it. Sally forth.